Great. We are live on LinkedIn as well. So welcome to this episode of Rethinking Legal Ops. It's a live podcast where we interview forward-thinking experts and influencers within the tech space and legal tech space. This week, we organized an event with Sukriti from Twitter, but unfortunately, because of some personal reasons, she couldn't attend. So I'll be here with you. It's an AMA session, so you can ask me whatever you want on the LinkedIn Live conversation that we have. So feel free to add any comment in the box at the bottom right, and I'll be answering your questions. At the same time, today we're gonna speak a bit about legal tech startups' wins and losses. So, as a legal tech startup, Speed Legal. So first of all, why we started Speed Legal and what's the reason that why we're building Speed Legal. So the reason why we started Speed Legal is because it came from a problem, from a pain. As I was working for my parents, they're both tax and legal consultants. I was doing a lot of document review and document preparation, contract review for them, and so they could present in front of their client. That task was very tedious and time-consuming. So I decided to start automating that process with some basic VBA code. And then only when I came to San Francisco in 2018, that's where I met my co-founder. We won a hackathon at Stanford, and we created Speed Legal. So Speed Legal at the beginning was basically a smart contract that allocated shares between co-founders based on milestone vesting and time vesting. And the main reason why we created that is because I was going to different hackathons and startup weekends, and it was very difficult to, after the event, to keep momentum and to connect with other participants and create a company after the event. So usually there is always an issue between finding an agreement on the roles, on the shares, and basically putting on paper all these commitments. So we created a form, like a type form, a Google form, where someone could easily input their name, their key information, their Ethereum address, and basically add some milestones in terms of vesting, time vesting, and milestone vesting. For example, the sales reached at a certain stage before releasing the shares. And from that project, we learned that 95% of startups in the US are actually using time vesting, and for that there was not much need of the blockchain at the time. So we decided to move on focusing on another problem, which is legal due diligence, which is a process that takes several hours and long nights, especially for junior attorneys who need to review thousands of pages and contracts in a short amount of time without making any mistake. So we decided to use deep learning models to highlight the key risks of those provisions and find the risks among those contracts. So now Speed Legal has a bigger vision, which is helping also people who don't understand contract or may not want to read the entire contract to understand what's the content of the contract, and for legal professionals and business professionals to highlight the risks of those contracts, therefore saving time when they need to compare those contracts with their internal template or the market standard. So yeah, that's the reason why we created Speed Legal. But if you want to look at the market out there, so there's legal tech is a pretty dynamic market with I would say a good number of companies, a lot of entrants, and I would say fewer survivors. Reason is why because legal tech is tough. It's tough for a couple of reasons. You're dealing with very sensitive data, which is difficult to find online to basically train your models, and also because the people who are working with contracts are usually paid to make it more complicated, and there's no interest of making that simple, especially when those professionals are paid by the hour. So things are changing, and I believe that legal innovation is going toward that direction. We saw different initiatives. An interesting one is the one from Electra, from one MBA now releasing one DPA. so towards standardization of contracts. And there is a general understanding of improving the way law is done. So if we wanna, I'm gonna show actually my screen with some of the key players in the market and some of the, so let's start with some of the companies who actually were acquired, right? So in this slide, we can see Seal. Seal was acquired a couple of years ago by DocuSign, and most of you actually know DocuSign, which is a platform to sign e-sign contracts, and was acquired for $188 million. So Seal actually, the focus of Seal was the one of, is a contract analytics firm, the one of extracting key information from contracts and providing a sort of risk analysis. What DocuSign has done with that technology is basically, creating an internal solution which they called DocuSign Insight, and basically it helps get insights from the contracts that you're signing. That's an interesting technology, but we haven't seen a proper release so far. Even if they have announced it on multiple channels, it may be available for bigger clients and maybe Fortune 500 companies, but it's not a technology ready to sign up and use right away yet. On the other side, we have companies like HelloSign and DocSend. They've both been acquired by Dropbox, and Dropbox is now creating an ecosystem where people can store contracts and documents and files. They can easily send sensitive documents, for example, when you have a pitch deck or you have some financing docs and you want to share them with specific investors and people, and you want to decide who has access to specific part of that contract and get analytics. The DocSend is doing that specifically, and that has been acquired for $165 million by Dropbox. And HelloSign is a competitor of DocuSign, easy to use, nice design, acquired for $230 million by Dropbox. So Dropbox is for surely moving toward that direction and somehow competing with DocuSign. DocuSign also acquired SpringCM, which is a big player in the contract management side, SpringCM. And that was a couple of years ago. In that space, we have also Kira, another company who has recently been acquired by Litera. So for those who don't know, Kira is actually a company who started with M&A legal due diligence as a main focus, M&A, extracting key information such as force majeure, change of controls, and other provisions, and automating that part. So their clients, beginning were big law firms, DLA Piper, and so forth. And now we can see that they're expanding on other sectors as they are advertising prop tech, insurance, and corporations. Liter is a very big, let's say, group that, according to Crunchbase, actually they have acquired 13 other companies, startups in the document management and augmentation space. Here is one of those, and some others are plugins for Word documents and companies in that space. Here we can see another company, interesting company, is Disclosures.io. Disclosures has been acquired by Homelight, and Disclosures, they're basically sharing disclosures of a property, so real estate sector. Before buying a property, the seller needs to disclose what are the key risks of that property, at least in certain states like California. And Disclosures.io is a YC company startup who went through the accelerator program, and then there was some money, and basically they were very successful in becoming market standard, de facto standard. Most of real estate agencies, at least in California, were using Disclosure.io to share the disclosures with the other party, with potential buyers, and then they tried also to collect, offers from the buyers. They have been acquired by HomeLight. HomeLight is a marketplace and a place where somehow you can find also agents kind of competing with Zillow, Redfin, Really, and Realtor.com. And this is going to the family of making, this corporate marketplace even bigger toward basically the services that they provide to their clients and especially to their agents that are affiliated with HomeLight. So there have been some successes, some wins in the LegalTech space, and there are other companies who have been acquired throughout the life cycle, like Iberivia, for example, and a couple of others. Those who have failed, I mean, there are a couple of them who are the most notorious one, like Atrium, Ross Intelligence, failed, of course, meaning like they decide to close the company. But that doesn't mean that those people fail, because as we know, the founders of these companies have been very successful and they're still very successful. So, but as a project itself didn't really succeed. At least they decided to stop that venture. So, founder of Atrium, one of the founders is the founder of Twitch, and Kevin. And basically, some of the reasons are, as he described thoroughly on a blog post and a Twitter thread, is that there was not a specific founder market fit. So he was not super excited about improving the way creating a legal tech tool and improving the way legal was done. The initial idea was the one of helping other startup founders deal with legal documents, as he found some pains there. Itself, the company was more of a say modern law firm rather than a tech company. They had actually more lawyers than developers, and the idea was to create a law firm with flat fees and upfront fees. So that were some of the reasons why probably they may not have succeeded as a legal tech company. Another one is Ross Intelligence. That one of the main reasons is the lawsuit that has been filed by Westlaw. So Ross has explained on their website that Westlaw, Thomson Reuters, and Westlaw brought us a lawsuit against Ross, and it's described here thoroughly that they decided basically to give up on their mission to making legal accessible to everyone. Then we have another company which went through LexLab Accelerator, part of UC Hastings in San Francisco. They actually got good traction in 1 year, and then they decided that they didn't find the right business model fit, and basically it was very difficult to penetrate this market. They had some manual steps and forms to fill in order to get connected to a lawyer. It was an AI-based marketplace to find the right lawyer. So these are some of the companies who didn't make it, and the most famous are the first two, of course, as we have heard in the news potentially recently. So yeah, let's see if there is any questions in the meantime on LinkedIn. Okay, yeah, I see someone writing, what excites you most? Okay, yeah, about the legal tech space right now. Yeah, thank you. Well, that's a very good question, actually. So again, the reason why we created Speed Legal is mostly because we had this problem with going through contracts after joining a hackathon and starting our own venture, and at the same time when working for my parents as they're both consultants. The vision of Speed Legal is for sure to help professionals and startup founders to get to agree on a contract faster. So there is a nice article about Iceberg as well from head of legal at Speed Legal about why lawyers use difficult jargon and legalese when discussing and talking about legal matters. So this is one of the reasons that really excites me about the legal tech space, is making contracts super easy. I don't see why they couldn't be a picture or a GIF, or a video. Instead of reading a contract, we could easily see a picture that describes the content of the contract. Also, speed matters in business, and as we know, there are many things that we can do in order to improve a specific part of our business. And the legal aspect is for sure important, but shouldn't take many hours, as on average it's about 2.5 hours per day on each professional who is dealing with contracts. So that's another exciting fact about working in this space. And the third one is we're going toward more and more augmentation of the workspace, as we are now having basically events, online calls, fully remote companies. You can work from everywhere, and the advent of the metaverse, of course, as people now are calling it, this new word. I really believe that the way we do contracting can be done better, it can be done faster, and doesn't need to be always in person, to create that trust that we need to sign a contract. So having a tool like Speed Legal, for example, or a similar risk analysis tool will help people to be more confident when they sign a contract, and they have not the time to read similar contracts in their jurisdiction, and they want to be sure that what they're signing is actually coherent to what other people are signing. So I really believe that this kind of companies, this specific problem is actually very exciting. And of course, there are different companies out there. We mentioned in this conversation a bit of data rooms, contract management systems, and so forth. But yeah, I hope that I answered your question. Any other question? What would you say is the biggest challenge you've faced so far in your industry? Thank you, Rajat. So the biggest challenge I faced in my industry, in the legal tech industry, is actually is the one of understanding who is the right customer to target at the beginning, because I've learned that lawyers tend to be a bit resistant. At least they're vocally interested in using legal technologies, but not really into putting getting their hands dirty and use them actually. So that's for sure has been one of the biggest difficulties. Like I would say education and trying to iterate to the cohort of people that are most in need of legal tech solutions. Yeah, that for sure is one of the biggest challenges. Thank you for asking. Cool. So I guess if there is no other question, I thank everyone for joining us today. Again, last minute change of plan because our speaker was not available, but we will be doing this kind of legal tech in-depth analysis time to time. So you all can understand also who are the main players within this industry, who are, of course, the people who are staying in the market, getting out of the market, being acquired, and trying to make a difference and improve people's lives. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next Thursday for an event on the same channels, YouTube, Twitter Live. We are on LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live. You can follow us, and we have a blog. We have actually a recording on our website, speedlegal.io, as well as we have blog posts published every other day. And I wish you all happy Speed Legal. Thank you.